you know, I think a lot of the time, especially for old school players, you learn a certain fingering and you just kind of bang your head against the wall until you get it ingrained in your system. It might not even occur to you to apply something like that, you know, but it really does. It just, you know, objectively cuts down the work you're doing.
You know, you hit on something when you say you get it ingrained in your system, and this is very. It was just a couple of days ago, and we had been rehearsing late, and so I was up and I wanted to chill for a minute, you know, long orchestra rehearsal, and I turned it on, and it was on. I think it wasn't National Geographic. It was some science, because we have the cable, but you know, with a 4-year-old, we have the cable for, you know. The family tier, and it was bizarre. It was about strength, and so they had this guy on there. It was sort of fascinating. It was fascinating, like the National Enquirer or something. It was a little bizarre, but it was fascinating. And he was a pretty stocky guy, but he weighed 178 pounds, and they had an iron skillet on top of a board. And this guy took a cloth and put it over his hand, and then he took a nail, with the nail is coming up like this, and he said, I'm going to drive this nail through the steel frying pan into the wood. Now, of course, they're scientists, right? So they took it to this test to see how it would take something like 380 pounds of force to do this. And of course, the nail would have to go in. And this guy gets back, and he goes, bam! And it went through. And it was like, yeah, I mean, it was bizarre, it was amazing, but what struck me was, they said, it's a combination, scientifically it's a combination of mental preparedness, but then the mental preparation with the training of the body and the training of the motion, and this gets back to the motion idea, and what they were saying was, so he took the nail, and he drove it through. So the scientists began to discuss what's happening, because this man at 178 pounds, you know, to get that much force, and then afterwards they had one of the scientists with the nail and a hammer trying to drive it through, and of course the nail's going psh, 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 because the nail, the angle has to be exact, everything. So he's talking about, in your body you have like a file cabinet that keeps a storage of all of your motion memory. So when something happens, and this gets to Rabbath stuff, Radatich's stuff, everybody's stuff, Stryker's stuff, Petrarchy's stuff, that the good news is you don't forget anything in your motion. That's the good news, but it's also the bad news, because, you know, Radhatich has a saying about the first thing in the computer, the first thing out of the computer, right? Yeah. And that's part of the issue. You have to really have it ingrained so that it's comfortable. But it's the idea that we have this motion memory. So when you're talking about you have to beat up on this line until you get it burned, you know, into yourself, it's exactly what these guys are doing. So you have guys who weigh, I don't know, a couple hundred pounds, lifting 500 pounds over their head. It's the combination of, yes, they're big guys, but if you take a big guy who has no experience doing this, he could be bigger than the guy. But it's the mental energy and everything, and it's all coming back to the motion, and then refining the motion, understanding the motion. And there's one other thing that I'll leave you with, and that is that when students practice, one of the big issues with intonation stuff is the intonation is a problem between only two notes. You play this note in tune, you play this note out of tune. So you need to set your frame so that you figure out what is that motion, fix that motion, then blow the frame back up. But if you do 8, 10 bars and you keep on running over it and hope that it's going to eventually, maybe, yes, eventually after a time you'll get it, but you get it so much quicker if you just refocus the frame, get that motion into your filing cabinet so that you can always draw on it when you need it. So anyway, that experience just popped into my head, and I think it's very applicable for what we do, that idea about motion, memory, and the mental, physical connection.
Absolutely. No, that's a really great insight to that.
So.
Well, thanks. This has been fantastic.
It's been,
I hope that,
yeah. Thank you for having me, and
absolutely.
I hope this is helpful to folks. And,
yeah, definitely.
If they have questions, just write.
absolutely. No, we'll do that.